Imagine for a moment it inside our body right que existas hidden code. A quinto secret password unse remembered can change the way you age, the way you walk, the way you breathe. Algorithm code as tiran expensive medical books. Nor engraved in una tattoo chemical formulas, but in a movement so simple and so primitive that we have forgotten it. The deep squat. The curious thing is that we are not talking about a gym exercise. The kind they are done in front of the mirror lifting weights with loud music. No, we are talking about a movement pattern inscribed in your biological design from the day you were born. Because yes, we all came into this world with the perfect ability to do it. Just look at a small child. When he plays on the floor, when he picks up a toy, or simply when he observes an ant carefully, he does it in a deep squat. His back straight, his feet firm, breathing free. He does it effortlessly, without thinking. He does it because his body still remembers. The problem appears with the years, with chairs, soft sofas, excessive comfort. Little by little we move away from the ground. We begin to bend the back instead of the hips, to use the hands as crutches to stand up, to walk with shorter steps. And although it may seem that this is something normal with age, in reality it is the silent beginning of true aging. Because aging does not begin with the wrinkles on the face, but with the loss of fluidity of movement. The magic of the deep squat lies in its simplicity. It is a single gesture that involves almost all muscles and joints: glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, abdomen, back, ankles, knees and hips. There is no machine that can reproduce such a complete work. But the most surprising thing is that, in addition to strengthening, this movement purifies. It massages the internal organs, improves digestion, stimulates circulation, awakens diaphragmatic breathing. It is like turning on a vital energy circuit that runs through the body from bottom to top. Now, if we go back to the origins of humanity, we discover that this was not an isolated gesture. It was the posture of daily life. Before chairs, the floor was our natural space. There we cooked, there we rested, there stories were woven around the fire. In many cultures, remaining squatting was more than a practical habit. It was a spiritual symbol of connection with the earth. In the indigenous peoples of America, Africa or Asia, the deep squat was part of the social fabric. The land was worked from there. Conversations took place from there. Life was shared from there. The word exercise was not used because movement was integrated into existence itself. In the East, in traditions such as yoga or Taoism, its energetic value was also recognized. Lowering toward the ground balanced the lower chakras, roots of vitality, and kept the flow of prana or chi free. And here arises a profound teaching. Every time we descend to the earth and rise again, we not only train muscles, but we repeat the eternal cycle of life: fall and resurgence, humility and elevation, death and rebirth. The deep squat is, in essence, a physical ritual of resilience. However, the modern world tore us away from that wisdom. We replaced contact with the ground with chairs, desks, screens, and in doing so, our mobility began to atrophy. Today, millions of adults in industrialized societies can no longer perform a deep squat. Meanwhile, in rural communities where the posture is still part of daily life, the elderly maintain mobility and autonomy until advanced ages. Do you realize the paradox? We have filled the world with gyms and sophisticated fitness routines, but we have forgotten the simplest gesture that sustains the youth of the body. What 99% of people ignore is that the secret of longevity is not hidden in miraculous supplements, but in recovering the fluidity of this natural pattern. Because youth is not measured in wrinkles, it is measured in autonomy. The true marker of vitality is not in the face, but in the ability to squat down and get up with confidence. Whoever preserves that gesture preserves life. Now then, beyond the physical, there is an emotional aspect we cannot ignore. In the body we store memories, especially in the hips and ankles. That is why, when someone practices the deep squat, discomfort often appears, even repressed emotions. The posture then becomes a space of catharsis. Breathing there, holding the weight, releasing tensions, is a way of letting go of what we have accumulated over the years. It is meditation in movement. That is why many spiritual teachers teach to remain squatting with eyes closed, breathing, connecting the heart with the earth. At first the discomfort seems unbearable, but little by little it transforms into strength, into confidence. And with each practice, the body remembers. It remembers that it does not need canes, that it does not need prosthesis to move. It remembers that it can stand on its own. And that autonomy, that gesture of squatting and standing up without fear, is the purest definition of freedom. In fact, modern medicine already recognizes it. The ability to stand up from the floor without support is one of the most reliable indicators of longevity. Studies show that those who can do it have less risk of dependence in old age, and that ability cannot be bought in pharmacies. It is cultivated, practiced, honored. That is why incorporating the deep squat into your life is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is not about going down to the ground on the first attempt. It is about remembering little by little. You can start by sitting on a low chair and standing up without using your hands. You can use support if you need it. Each attempt is a victory. Each second close to the ground is a step toward vitality. Turn the posture into a daily habit. Do not reserve it only for the gym. When you pick something up from the floor, do it in a squat. When you want to rest, try staying squatting for a few seconds. At first it will seem uncomfortable, but over time your body will recognize it for what it is, its natural home. Breathe deeply in the posture. Imagine that each inhalation drinks vital energy from the earth, and that each exhalation discharges tensions downward. Make the movement a meditation ritual. Close your eyes, place your hands in front of your heart, and remain in silence. You will discover that by balancing yourself close to the ground, you also balance your mind. And above all, celebrate progress. Do not seek perfection. Celebrate each centimeter, each second more. The true goal is not marked muscles, but recovered freedom. Because deep down, what this gesture reminds you is that life is sustained in the simple. That you do not need expensive treatments to stay young, but to remember the ancestral wisdom inscribed in your flesh. By practicing the deep squat, you drink again from the original spring of vitality. You reconnect with the cycle of nature, going down and up, falling and being reborn. It is a powerful reminder that no matter how many times you fall in life, the essential thing is to maintain the ability to stand up with dignity. And now the question I want to leave you with is this. Are you going to continue searching for the secret of youth in the external? Or will you dare to rediscover in your own body the movement that was always there waiting? If this reflection resonated with you, do not keep it just for yourself. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Because each person who remembers this ancestral secret will have in their hands the key to recover their vitality and transform their future. Time passes for everyone, but the way we live it depends on our choices. Today you have discovered a powerful choice to return to the movement that preserves life. Imagine now as we leave behind the echo of this story, that time becomes a mirror that reflects not only the acts of a man marked by tragedy, but also the darkest and brightest folds of our own human condition. Because what we have seen is not simply the fall of a character who defied the norm, but a reminder that all of us at some point face dilemmas where loyalty, faith, and fear intertwine like invisible threads. This story, full of tension and shadows, is not limited to the anecdotal nor to the historical. It is a reflection of something deeper, of how ambition can ignite bonfires impossible to extinguish, of how the sacred kept in silence can become a cry that resounds louder than any proclaimed truth. And in the midst of it all there is the spectator, you, who by listening to these words not only observe a narration but also recognize in it echoes of your own doubts, of your own inner battles. Think about it for a moment. How many times have we felt that the world expects from us an immediate answer, a clear definition, an impossible decisión? And yet, just like the protagonist of this story, we find ourselves trapped in a labyrinth of contradictions, looking for a way out that never seems fully illuminated. That is the true power of stories like this. They do not give us solutions, but they expose us to the rawness of what it means to be human. Looking back, every detail takes on a new weight. The murmurs of those who were present, the glances that avoided meeting, the silence that followed after the last words, all that makes up a picture that goes beyond the facts. It is the portrait of an era, of a system that rewards some and devours others, of a machinery where truth rarely coincides with justice, but it is also proof that, even in the densest darkness, memory persists. And that memory is what today awakens again in us, like an open wound that forces us to look beyond the obvious. And perhaps that is the great paradox. The story we have relived does not belong only to the past. It continues to breathe in the present. Every time a secret is hidden under the rug, every time someone in power manipulates the truth, every time the ambition of some puts the lives of others at risk, there beats, silent but insistent, the same question that accompanied this man until the end. We cannot escape from it. Because what happened in that room, what was said in that last instant, is not simply the end of a life. It is a reminder that all of us, at some point, will be confronted with our own last words. And perhaps, when that moment comes, we will discover that it is not about great speeches, but about what we left sown in others, the doubts, the teachings, the memories that others will tell after us. And here, in front of you, the reflection becomes inevitable. What mark do you want to leave when that moment comes? Will it be a story marked by ambition and secrecy, or one that inspires others to seek the truth, even when it hurts? There is no easy answer, because life rarely offers us straight paths. But there is something we can learn from this story, the importance of not remaining silent, of daring to question, of keeping awake that spark that allows us to distinguish between truth and lies, between loyalty and betrayal. So the story comes to an end, but not the echo it leaves in you. That echo will be what accompanies your next steps, like a whisper that does not disappear, like a shadow that reminds that the power of memory always surpasses oblivion. And now, I invite you to also become part of this memory. Tell me, what do you think about what we have just gone through together? Do you believe that this character was a victim of circumstances or an architect of his own destiny? I am interested in knowing your answer, because from that dialogue, new ways of understanding what we have seen are born. If this story moved you, if it lit in you the same mix of wonder and reflection that leaves anyone thinking in the darkness of the night, then do not forget to support us. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. In this way, we will not only keep the conversation alive, but we will continue exploring together the shadows and mysteries that history hides from us.